Alright, to swap the magazine release on the CM9 to the other side, you're going to have to field strip it first. Remove the slide stop, remove the slide. Okay, if we're looking directly down into the frame, we'll see the trigger bar that is connected to the trigger. If we pull the trigger, you can see it moving the trigger bar. And the trigger bar guide here, it's a spring-loaded ramp that resets the trigger bar in an upwards position. So what we'll do is grab the trigger bar guide, we push it down, and we turn it. And this frees the trigger bar guide to be in an upwards position. This trigger bar guide actually goes through the frame and interfaces with the magazine release. There's a small detent, and the detent actually locks the magazine release into the frame with the trigger bar guide. So if we pull up on the trigger bar guide, it will pop the detent free. We'll hear it click, and the detent, as you saw, fell out of the magazine release. Okay, so back in focus, the detent usually sits inside the magazine release. There's also a small spring in there. And the small stem is what engages with that spring, so the small stem goes in the hole first. We're going to leave that in there for now. So now we can remove the magazine release. It'll come out of the frame to the left side here. We can see inside of it there's that detent and the spring. So we flip it around, reinstall it. Now we have to put the trigger bar guide back into the frame. Just goes in the hole in the frame where it came out of. Now the reinstallation can be a little tricky. We have to swap sides now. Okay, so we're going to use a punch to depress the magazine, release detent and spring here. And then we now have to push the trigger bar guide down so that it crosses through the magazine release. So as you're pushing down, you release this punch, and as you pull it out, you'll actually hear the trigger bar guide push past, and then it now locks the magazine release in place. Now we just have to turn the trigger bar guide back facing towards the front of the frame. We push it down, we get the trigger bar in an upward position. By manipulating the trigger, that's not working. So we'll manually flip it upside down. And that allowed the trigger bar to raise up, allowing us to turn the trigger bar guide back under the trigger. So, trigger's functioning again. The magazine release is now on the right side of the frame for a left-hander. Reassemble, and you're all finished. Hope that helps.